Welcome everybody to this webinar, Resilience, Your Hidden Superpower. I'm Dr. Glenda Rivoallan, and it's an absolute pleasure to be with you today for our Virtual Roadshow online event. This really is a conference in your pocket, and I am super delighted to be among such great company with over 100 speakers who bring to you every week a topic that will really level up your practice, level up your mindset, and level up your thinking as you develop your career as a fitness professional. I'm going to introduce you to my very unique method, Resilient as Fudge, to show you how you can really double down on your resilience for success in both life and work. So before we jump in on this great opportunity, I just want to give you a little whistle-stop tour of what we're going to cover over the next hour. So I'm really inviting you to discover your own sweet recipe for resilience. And by the end of this hour, I am hoping that you will be more aware of what resilience really is and the importance of resilience in meeting your ambitions. Whether you're a fitness professional, a leader in the space, or just generally interested, welcome to you all, and please stick around because I'm going to help you recognize how your own personal resilience shows up, your style, and how you can learn some practical tips to support your own personal resilience and well-being. And we're going to dive into this using my very own Resilient as Fudge method. And I'm also going to show you how using the Resilient as Fudge method can help you bring your best self to both work and life. So let's jump in. And just as we do this, a little bit of housekeeping before we go any further. I'd like you to think of this hour as a little bit of gym for the mind. So I'm asking you to join me with an open mind. I'm asking you to suspend judgment and be fully present. Please take time out for yourself. It's not selfish, and I really hope you enjoy doing that. So in the spirit of the sector that we're in, we think nothing about going to the gym, working our quadriceps, working our biceps, working our abs, but we don't always, by default, think about working our minds. And that's really what I want to do today with you, is to do a little bit of gym for the mind. So I want to start, and I'm sure you must be thinking, well, why does Dr. G, which is my other well-known name that people know me for, why does Dr. G think resilience is like fudge? Like fudge, becoming resilient is trial and error. It's about learning from mistakes and figuring out the perfect recipe. I don't know if anybody out there knows this, but when fudge was invented, it was actually invented by mistake. They were aiming to get one sweet confectionery and ended up with fudge, but realised that in its own right, it was a really cool product. And I want you to think about your own resilience like this, because we don't always get it right first time. We don't always have everything go to plan. So like fudge, becoming resilient is about learning from mistakes and figuring out your own perfect recipe for thriving. So I want to remind everybody, and I want you to think back about your career, because here's the thing. I wasn't always resilient as fudge. But I am really delighted to say to you that what I'm going to take you through in the next hour really helped me to level up, double down, and come back stronger than I was before. And if you look at these pictures here, left to right, What's quite interesting in my story is that I was a successful serial entrepreneur in fitness and wellness. I was an award-winning club co-founder, having 14 awards in under 2 years when my health club opened in Jersey in the Channel Islands. But here's the thing. After huge success, I felt empty. After huge success, I felt overwhelmed and I felt burnt out. And the long and short of that story is I was spending all of the time that I had on my business and everybody else, but not spending it on me. And the long and short of that story is that my resilience was drained. And I just want to stress to people here that burnout is not an easy thing to come back from. So I really want to avoid anybody having that experience where possible, because we can do so much to avoid burnout in our lives. And when I realised by looking in the mirror that I had work to do on myself, it allowed me to take time out to focus down on developing my mindset, my skill set, and my tool set for thriving to enable me to come back stronger. So there's a message here that resilience is not about always standing up and being stoic. Resilience sometimes means we have to stop and slow down and really double down on our awareness to understand what is not helping us thrive and really consider the things that we can do to support ourselves in thriving. And I want to say what's really cool here is that I bounced back stronger than I was before by doing many of the things that I'm going to talk to you about in this hour. And I created a new brand, and I'm delighted to say that I sold that brand, Club Soulgenic, to Anytime in 2020. And now, because of the benefits that I've had from becoming more resilient, becoming resilient as FUDGE in my life, I want to share it with you. So I'm pleased to say that I go around the world talking about this subject, and I'm a doctor in resilience. So I know what I'm saying, I know what I'm talking about, so I'd like you to stay with me. We want people to go on a journey with us because we are on a mission to make resilience sticky. And we feel together we can help 1 million people become more resilient. So my message to you today is you might pick up something here that's profound for you, but there might be something here that's also profound for people in your teams, people in your care, people in your organisation. So let's dive in a little bit further. Resilient as Fudge is based on the best-selling book. And as I said before, resilience, like the art of making fudge, is a delightful blend of experimentation and refinement. You're encouraged to embrace the process and learn from every trial and savour the sweet success of your own resilience journey. Because by rewiring yourself for resilience, calm, and optimal well-being, you will discover the superpower that's hidden within that will really support you in building your own resilience blueprint and toolkit for thriving and flourishing, however that looks like for you. Because resilience helps us to cope with the uncertain, the unpredictable, and the high-stress world we now find ourselves in. So here's the really cool thing, and I hope that this gives everybody that joins me today hope for the future, hope for your sweet recipe for what you want in your life and in your work, because the cool thing is that resilience can be taught. It is a learnable skill, and we can refine it along the way. And I hope you all remember the slinky. And I don't know if I'm just showing my age here, but the slinky doesn't just bounce back. The slinky also bounces forward with more energy than it maybe had before. And this is the beautiful hidden power of becoming more resilient, is that when we are more resilient, we will bounce back from challenge, from uncertainty and setback with resources that allow us to be stronger than we were before. So why resilience for you? Well, we know that life is a big roller coaster. We know that life has twists and turns along the way. And resilience allows us to navigate the twists and turns and challenges with more ease than we would have done before. So here are some cool benefits. To your body, when you become more resilient, you will lower your stress levels and improve your physical health. When you are more resilient, you will think and feel in a way that serves you, that allows you to gain inner peace. If you're more resilient, you will improve your sense of connection and you will find it easier to build relationships. When you're resilient, you set up your environment for thriving, not just surviving. Resilient people have discovered their life purpose and their sense of belonging. And resilient people find inner strength and embrace a deep sense of growth and balance. So I really hope that these benefits keep you with me as we move forward. And I think it's really important to, at this point, work around a definition of resilience, because I'm quite passionate about resilience sometimes not being a great word. Sometimes it's an overused word, and sometimes we have a tendency to think that the word's not necessary because we are resilient. But I just want to say to you, whether it's you or whether it's a colleague, we are seeing greater mental health deficits than ever before. So in my opinion, we need resilience more than we've ever needed it before. But I am passionate about us needing what I call healthy resilience and not this toxic definition of resilience that is out there in many sectors and spaces. This idea that we have to be stoic, this idea that we just keep getting back up and working even harder. So I want to dispel that myth, because sometimes to be resilient means to know when to quit. Sometimes to be resilient means that you know when to stop. Because resilience is about bouncing back, but also bouncing stronger than you were previously. And this definition by Michael Unger, a psychologist at the Research Resilience Centre, is one of my favourites. Resilience is our capacity, individually and in groups, to navigate our way to the psychological, social, cultural, and physical resources that sustain our well-being. And also our capacity, individually and in groups, to negotiate these resources to be provided in meaningful ways. So what I love about this definition of resilience is the holistic nature of resilience. This idea that resilience means different things to different people. But the important piece here is that resilience has a psychological domain, a social domain, a cultural domain, and a physical domain. And it really centres around the development of resources. And that's something that I'm going to work with you on to the end of this hour, I want you to consider your resilience resources. And I want you to think about your resilience resources like a backpack that you can tap into and bring out the tools that you need as and when to ensure that you are thriving despite what life and work is throwing at you. So here's the thing. Resilience helps you to think in a way that will serve you. Resilience helps you to feel that you are moving forward in a way that will serve you. So healthy thinking, healthy feelings, and ultimately, when we think and feel in a way that serves us, we will ultimately behave in a way that serves us. So resilience really does help you to think, feel, and behave in a way that moves you towards success. So why does this matter in life? Because what you sometimes see is not always what is going on for people. So some people are absolutely out there with a silent struggle that we know nothing about. We know that life is more uncertain than ever before. We know that life is presenting many people with big challenges. We know that life is not all sunshine and roses. So resilience acts as a buffer against stress, because we know that stress is perception. So if we can change perception, we can ultimately change your reality. So the resilient mindset, skill set, and tool set can help to limit the impact of both work and life's challenges on your physical and psychological well-being. It also allows you to embrace the beauty of work and life and enjoy it for all that it brings. So by bringing resilience to both your work and life, you will play your part in developing a resilient work culture and a resilient organisation, and one that will thrive as a result. And we know by looking at the literature in resilience that it is absolutely key to every success measure. And please remember, it can be taught and it can be learned. But why does this matter in the workplace? Well, I think everybody should know about this. But if there are leaders who have joined me today, we are seeing some statistics right now that are giving cause for concern. 65% of employees right now have viewed their job as the number one stressor. 41% of employees desire a change in culture, environment. 51% of workers actively seek new employment right now. 6 in 10 employees are quietly quitting. And 69% of employees are not thriving at work. So this is a call to everybody that's joined me today. If you have got the ability to invest in your business or invest in yourself, please invest in people before anything else. Because your people are your culture. Your people are your productivity. And your people are ultimately what is going to drive your business success. So I now want to ask you to come with me on this journey to think about the part that you play in your resilience journey. Are you the biggest hurdle? Are you the person that gets in the way of you? Because often we absolutely are the biggest hurdle. We are the biggest challenge that is holding us back. So what part do you play in your resilience journey? Now, I want to make it clear here that stress is your perception to cope with life's demands that are being placed on you. But perception is the really important part here and why it's so heavily linked to resilience. Because we know that the more you perceive yourself to be stressed, the more it drains someone of their resilience. It will drain your thinking, your feelings, and your behavior. So I want you to look at the diagram and start to really understand where you've been in terms of your perceptions of stress. Consider your stress bucket here, because everybody that will have joined me today has a different size stress bucket. And we are all putting stressors in our stress bucket, both with work and life. And what's important is to understand that even if they're good stressors or not so good stressors, they are going to start making you lift the level of your stress bucket. And I want you to think about that. If I asked you to consider how full your perceived stress bucket is, where have you been in the last few weeks? Because when we start to see our perceptions of stress and our stress bucket get full, we start to see many symptoms of both physical and psychological decline. So, are you aware of what's showing up for you when you feel that your stress is rising? Are you aware of the psychological and physical changes that occur that suggest that your stress is becoming near the top of your tolerance, the top of your stress bucket? And are you releasing the tap on your stress bucket to release perceptions of stress? Because we all know what's going to happen if you do not release the tap. Please remember that your stress and perceptions of stress have a direct correlation to how resilient you feel. So it's really important that we raise awareness as a key step to becoming more resilient. What are your stressors? How do they show up in terms of presentation, both physical and psychological? And when they do, what are you doing to limit perceptions of stress? And I just want you to think about looking in the mirror here, because are you aware of what is sustaining you and what is draining you? Because the goal is to add sustainers and remove drainers. So it's about becoming a detective on how your stress is linked to your perceptions of coping that then have an impact on your feelings of resilience, and what are you doing about it? And I really just want to make a signpost here, but if your stress feels like it goes and comes back, and then you have lots of breaks, and in the main, it feels quite positive because it motivates you to get things done, that's okay. That's positive stress. But sometimes stress and perceptions of stress becomes much more frequent, and we call that tolerable stress. It's more frequent, but you do have breaks from it. What I'm really concerned about is when stress becomes toxic, where you perceive yourself to be stressed most of the time, where you do not get a break from perceptions that everything is becoming too much. Those feelings of overwhelm, feeling like the hamster on the wheel, and feeling like you can't get off. If you are presenting today with feelings that your stress has become toxic, you will be really glad that you joined me on this webinar. Because we know that when you perceive stress to be unhelpful and that you perceive that stress has got to a point where you're not coping, it will also change how you perceive pressure. And I just want you to look at this really cool diagram that we call the pressure performance curve. Because we know that as the level of pressure rises, so does your performance to a point. It's very much along that theme that Simon Sinek talks about, where you get most of your growth outside of the circle of comfort. And in this diagram, this is the optimum area where you feel stretched, but you still feel you can cope. The challenge is when stress starts feeling like you're not coping, so you move into strain and then very quickly into crisis. And you can see here that there is a very quick drop off in performance when stress goes beyond that optimum point, or feelings that you can cope with demands and pressure. So we are very mindful that with raised self-awareness, we can really understand where our sweet point is for high performance. So we want to avoid crisis because we know that that leads to exhaustion, burnout, physical and mental health challenges. So we want to avoid it. But I also want to say to people out there, we do not perform at our best when we're comfortable. And we certainly do not perform at our best when we are bored. So we talk about this phenomenon called bore out. And bore out is also not good for your well-being and can really drain your feelings of resilience. So we want to really consider how we can, not just for ourselves, but our teams, move in a way that we can hit optimum performance and feel like we can meet that demand. And when we develop our resilience, we can cope, our perceptions of coping improve, and therefore we can take more pressure and we can have more demand before we will really start to experience the impact of perceptions of high stress and drained resilience. So there are so many incredible benefits to working on your resilience to lower perceptions of stress and improve your perceptions of pressure and therefore help you to perform under pressure. So what did I learn from a stay in burnout hotel? Because I did say to you that I did get there momentarily when I had been constantly putting my feet on the gas and not releasing the tap, not turning the tap on my stress bucket and releasing the pressure. So what I learned is there's two parts to the burnout equation. You don't always see the edge before the sudden drop. That's important. Something else I learned is that the body absolutely knows and it will keep the score. So the more you can tap into your awareness about what your normal modus operandi, your normal presentation would look like, if that goes away from your baseline, it's giving you clues. We also need to remember that we need to turn off as much as we need to turn on because we're human and we only have a certain amount of energy. So we absolutely need to recharge, we need to refresh to avoid exhaustion and burnout. And something that is so ultimately powerful here is we always have a choice. Because the only person that has your back and to ensure that in this exhaustion funnel that you don't end up down in the pits of despair is that you're the only person that has your back. So true recovery is where we take time out for rest and rediscovery. And that's what I'm asking you to do today. Because we all know that work and no play is dull. But here's the thing. We need work, we need to do our chores, but we also need rest and we also need to play. So it's critically important that we can have that range of activities in our life for flourishing. So I just want to remind you all about what I call the grand illusion. We have been sold through social media and all other types of media. We've been sold this story about dream life, that we basically just move up in intervals of performance and success to these incredible heights, and it's portrayed as not so difficult a thing. Well, that's dream life. What I want to introduce you to is the idea of real life. It is absolutely normal that it's messy, that it's challenging, it can be difficult because it is real life. And we have to be equipped for real life, not dream life. And I just want to say to everybody who is out there that might have felt like they were the hamster on the wheel, or that they felt overwhelmed, or that they were struggling. Well, where are you in the ladder of accountability? Have you been unaware or unconscious about where you've been, how you're showing up, how you would categorize your resilience right now? Are you surviving or just thriving? Have you been blaming others? Have you been saying you can't? Have you just been waiting, doing the same thing, expecting a different result, and hoping that it will all go away? Because that is a powerless place to be. When we start to acknowledge our reality, when we start to own how we show up, we can start to find solutions. We can start to make things happen. And that's a much more powerful place to be. And that's what I want to start working on for the remainder of this webinar. We are going to get back to being powerful, not powerless. We are going to climb up this ladder of accountability and take responsibility for you and your resilience journey, for you to move closer to the life and the work that you want and that you define for yourself. So I'm going to now introduce you to the Resilient as Fudge method that absolutely helps you to become resilient as fudge. It helps build resilience in the sense of that affective domain of resilience. That's how you feel. That cognitive domain of resilience about how you think. And that self-regulatory domain of resilience about how you behave. So if I asked you now to think about your growth like a tree, and that a tree grows to be healthy and mature, resilience also needs strong roots. And we call that the resilient mindset. And we know that to be resilient starts with the resilient mindset. We need strong roots for growth. But we also know to become a mature, healthy tree or a mature, healthy person that we need a stable trunk. And that's what we talk about with the resilient skill set. Once we have the foundations, the roots of the resilient mindset, we have the stable trunk of the resilient skill set, you will start to see the branches of the tree grow. And we talk about the branches of your growth tree as being the resilient tool set. So if you keep growing, you too can become resilient as fudge. So we're going to dive into these. So I've asked you to consider yourself during this hour, and I want you to continue to look in the mirror. Because if you are asking me what separates resilient people to less resilient people, it absolutely starts and ends with mindset. Your set of attitudes and beliefs that you bring on a daily basis that sets intention for growth. And we talk here about 4 principles. And we know that in developing the resilient mindset, attitudes and beliefs that are healthy, that are going to serve you, demands that we raise awareness, that we set intention, that we come at both work and life with brave honesty, and then we can take total responsibility. Because the power of your resilient mindset lies in your hands. So I want to get you to consider raising your awareness. How supportive has your mindset been in making sure that you can maintain your resilience and maintain your path on this journey of both life and work? So how aware have you been? Because I'm asking you to befriend that inner critic. Remember when I said that we're often the biggest hurdle? It's often ourselves that tell us that we cannot do something or that we should not try. And it's ourselves that often come at things with a poor attitude or limiting beliefs that are holding you back. So when imposter shows up, it's about befriending the imposter, the inner critic, and really trying to reframe and really work on that inner critic to help you remove limiting beliefs, choose a positive attitude over a more negative one, and befriend your inner critic. When we raise awareness, we can actually set intention for the actions that we want to take. And I want to say to you, when it comes to intention, that the only time is now. So we have to make the present count. If you are fixated on the past, that is just going to bring pain and suffering. If you are fixated on the future, that will probably bring anxiety and worry. So in terms of intention, we want to focus down on what you can do with your mindset to support you in delivering in the here and now. But to do that means we have to be bravely honest. What part are you playing in your plight? Are you coming at your journey with a resilient mindset, or are you coming at your journey with a deficit mindset? Are you coming at your journey with a focus on abundance, what we do have, or are you coming at your journey with a focus on lack, what we don't have? Because I want to say to you that the final part of the resilient mindset is about you taking total responsibility for how you want to show up. So I want you to think about where you are right now. If I gave you the ability to score yourself between a 1 and a 10, where are you right now? Are you a 10? You're coming at life with a fantastic, positive, supportive, resilient mindset? Or are you coming with a mindset that's only allowing survival, that is tapped into threat, not opportunity? So I want to give you a little tool, and we call this the reframe game. So when negative limiting beliefs show up or poor attitude shows up, instead of saying, well, why does this always happen to me? Try, what can I learn from this? Rather than, I'm so angry about this, how can I make this work for me? It's fine. It always happens to me. I'll just suck it up. Why not try? How can I help myself and others to move this forward? Rather than, this never works. What is the point? What about trying, how can I be part of the solution? How can I thrive here despite its presence? So do try the reframe game, because we absolutely need to build the resilient mindset to enable us to come and present in a way that's going to help us to think healthy, feel healthy, and ultimately behave in a way that serves us. So I now want you to think about the resilient skill set. And when we talk about the resilient skill set, we talk about 3 key principles. And this is all about you building out your skill set to manage you. Remember, I said way back at the beginning, the power is in your hands. It's ultimately a choice, and the only person that you can rely on to support you in maintaining your resilience is you. So how do you manage you? Can you lead yourself? Can you intentionally set up your resilient mindset to bring intention for how you want to think, how you want to feel, and how you ultimately want to behave? So how you come at life with the 3 domains of resilience. Can you lead yourself in intentionally setting yourself up for resilience? Can you coach yourself into resilient thinking, feeling, and behaviour? Do you ask yourself good questions when you hit the top of your stress bucket? Why do I feel drained? Why do I feel overwhelmed? What is going on for me right now? Why I'm coming with no energy? What is going on for me right now that I am performing at my absolute best? What is going on for me right now that is allowing me to be so successful in the here and now? We know that when people come at life with a resilient skill set, they can self-coach themselves by asking amazing questions. And do you role model to yourself? Because we absolutely know that behavior breeds behavior. So if you really want to be fit and healthy physically, you need to role model the physical behaviors that will allow you to become physically fit. And once you do that, you will want to repeat the process. And it's that self-fulfilling concept that behavior breeds new behavior. So I want you to consider the 3 principles and where you are right now. Would you say that you are thinking, feeling, and behaving in a way right now that's been serving you? Are you able to ask yourself great questions? And do you set a great example? So if I gave you again, the ability to score yourself from 1 to 10, 10 being that you absolutely can manage yourself, what number would you give and what has to change? So I'm going to give you another tool that you can practice to build out your resilient skill set. Let's consider that you can really start to know yourself and manage yourself when you start to understand your working style. Are you one of those people that like to hurry up? Because the great thing about that is that you will get stuff done. The negative here is that you often leave it late and that not always at the best quality. So are you a hurry up kind of person? Or are you a be perfect kind of person? I mean, the great thing about that is that you will produce quality, but often you don't meet deadlines and you won't get the job done because you're striving for perfection. Are you a people pleaser where you're all about team? You are fantastic at generating harmony, but the challenge is that you avoid difficult conversations. You don't always use your boundaries and you don't say no because you don't want to upset people at all costs. Are you a try hard kind of person where it's all about the effort and you want everybody to know about it, that you're the hardest working person in the room? The challenge here is it's all about the galvanizing of effort, and that can often start to get boring when things are not new and exciting. So you're not always a complete finisher, and that can be a problem. Or are you a be strong kind of person where when the pressure is up, you're super calm, you're very reliable, you will get a job done, but at what cost? Because you often won't admit weakness. You won't ask for help. And you could be one of those people that give the silent struggle. And what's really important here is to understand that your working style can play a huge part in how you show up. And what's very interesting is that this default style shows up even more when we feel under threat or high stress. So I want you to consider how your working style might actually impact your resilience. So if you're a be perfect kind of person, I just want to say to you, it's okay just to be yourself. If you are a hurry up kind of person, it's okay sometimes to take your time and avoid the rushing. If you are a try hard kind of person, it's okay to do it all the way to completion. If you are a please me, people pleaser kind of person, it's okay to consider yourself, respect yourself, and when necessary, say no. And if you are a be strong kind of person, it's actually okay to be a little bit vulnerable at times, to open up and allow people in. So by knowing your working style, you could become more aware of how your working style, especially when under perceptions of stress, might actually be draining your resilience, your ability to think, feel, and behave in a way that is serving you. We're moving into the last section now. So we've talked about the roots of your growth, the resilient mindset. We've talked about the trunk, the middle part of your growth that helps stabilize you during the journey. And what's so beautiful, when we come at life and work with a resilient mindset, the resilient skill set, we can build out the tools for thriving and for growth. And we've got 6 principles here. I want you to think about this like a bit of a plane journey. If I said to you that your resilience journey was a bit like a plane journey, I want you to think about this. If I invited you on that journey and I said to you that you were coming on a journey with me on this plane journey, but there was no fuel on the plane, would you be still as keen to come with me? Probably not. So I ask you this. Why would you not fuel yourself for your resilience journey? Because we know the foundation of the tool set when it comes to resilience. The branches of the tree that are going to help you to grow, the foundations are zest. And by zest, we mean sleep, physical activity, boundaries, and nutrition. These are the absolute foundations. With zest and fuel, they're the foundations of a resilient person. So we have to fuel ourselves for the journey. I also want to say to you that if I said, come on the journey, but I'm not going to tell you where we're going, you might like that for a short period of time. However, if you thought we were going to the Maldives and you and I end up in Blackpool, no offence to anybody who lives there, but you might be disappointed because you thought you were going to the Maldives. So it's critically important that we know roughly where we're headed. What's the destination? What's the vision for your journey? And on this journey, on a normal plane, we have 2 engines for success. And those engines are what I believe to be the self-belief that can propel you along this journey and help you succeed. Confidence and motivation that becomes belief that you have got the necessary tools and resources and that you perceive that you can cope and that you are resilient to tackle what life is throwing at you. So I'm going to ask you, do you really believe in yourself? Because you have to. And we know in any plane journey, it's not always smooth. It's sometimes quite normal that turbulence comes in. What would the pilot say? He would tell us to stay calm, but we're going to change where we are. We'll just drop down 1,000 feet, find new air. The point here is the pilot doesn't just do the same thing expecting a different result. The pilot will act and he will course correct. And we often need to do that in life. So in terms of our outlook, we need to appreciate that a normal part of life in doing business is that things can feel a little bit bumpy. So the idea here is that with positivity, optimism, and staying calm, with a little bit of perspective sprinkled in, that everything in life is temporary, we can accept that turbulence is normal, that turbulence is temporary, and that with positivity and hope, we'll get through it. I want you to think about who you'd bring on the journey if I said you could bring a few friends. Because connection is critical as a tool for resilience. So who are you hanging out with? Because the people that you hang out with will directly influence if you feel that they're sustaining you or they're draining you. And we said earlier, the secret is to drop drainers and increase sustainers. So it's important that we don't go on the journey alone, but that we go with people who have our back. So who's your tribe? And finally, we always know in any plane journey that the cabin crew are super important. They're the environment that sets the culture for that 10-hour flight. They are the people, they are the culture that sets the tone. So are you in an environment that's allowing you to survive or only thrive? And I want to give you an example here. If you thought of a bonsai tree, if a bonsai tree was not growing, you wouldn't instantly give up. You would try something new. You would change environment. You would try and fuel it more. So the idea here is change its environment. And it's the same with yourself. Environment is absolutely critical because we know that behavior breeds behavior. So where you hang out, how you hang out, and with who you hang out is critically important to your resilience. So know where you are. If I said to you out of 10, where are you right now with the branches for growth, your tool set for resilience? Are you drained of all battery or are you feeling topped up? Where are you right now? And I just want to give you one tool. But if I could only suggest one thing to you that you could do for yourself or you could do for your team, I would suggest incorporating the 6 ways to well-being. Because by focusing down on the 6 ways to well-being, you will build out the resilient tool set. So are you nourishing body, mind, people, place, planet, spirit? If you are doing all 6, I promise you that you will be fueling yourself for success. You will have a clearer sense of where you're headed. You will believe in yourself more than you did before. You will become more positive in your thinking. You will feel connected and you will have set yourself up in an environment for thriving. So I want you to think about not just you, but how you're developing your teams. Are you recruiting and training for the growth mindset? Because we know that highly resilient people come at life and work with a growth mindset. They see feedback as valuable, they improve with practice, they know that they can do their best work, they do not give up, but they don't do the same thing, expecting a different result. They will try new things. And they will also appreciate, just like making fudge, that to make a more resilient person means trial and error, learning from mistakes, but seeing them and reframing them as learning. So are you coming at life with the growth mindset? Are you recruiting and training for the growth mindset? So just as a little recap, resilience is highly linked to perceptions of stress and perceptions of pressure that ultimately make the difference between how you will perform in both life and work. And the Resilient as Fudge 436 system sets you up for success. So do you need to spend more time developing the resilient mindset? Awareness, intention, brave honesty, taking responsibility? Or do you need to spend a little bit more time building out the resilient skill set, leading yourself, coaching yourself, and role modeling to yourself? Or have you now got to a point where you can work on the icing of the cake by the mindset that you bring, how you're leading yourself, and just continuing to practice on these 6 tools for growth. Where are you right now in terms of becoming resilient as Fudge? Because ultimately, as I've said many times through this hour, it is your choice. If we can focus down on all of the things you can control, rather than the things that are outside of your control, you will drop feelings of overwhelm. You will drop feelings of being stuck. Feelings of what is the point? It's absolutely critical that we focus down on controlling the controllables, influencing what we can, and letting go of the rest. And there's one thing that I can absolutely reassure you, that you can absolutely not fill from an empty cup. So if you want to be the best individual or a great parent or a fantastic leader, you have to start with you. You have to start with yourself. And this is not selfish, it's self-respect. It's mandatory that you look after you so that you can look after everyone else. So is this time for you to press the button on a factory reset with your own resilience? Because you can choose to jump on Stress Street, or you could jump on to Resilient Road. It is your choice. I want to thank you for joining me. If you do want to ask me questions, I will endeavour to come back to you. You can reach out to me on all of the different social platforms. And if you really want to delve deeper, check out Resilient as Fudge online. It is absolutely a mindset coach in your pocket. You can order the best-selling book by scanning the barcode here, or you can inquire now about the Resilient as Fudge live masterminds and app platform by scanning the second barcode. Reach out to us and please enjoy the journey of becoming resilient as Fudge. Thank you.